Hi everyone, welcome to the Commune. My name is Ren. I use she, they pronouns, and I can let my special guest introduce himself.
I'm Spencer. I use he, him pronouns.
Well, welcome. This is the first episode, so it might be a bit of a mess. We'll see. I've only listened to podcasts, never attempted to make one, but we're gonna be discussing American Gods. I have some questions from my brain. I have a question from Miss Pruitt, and then I have a question from my other friend, and then the book that I got for American Gods was like the I don't know, the 10th anniversary edition. So in the back it has a bunch of discussion questions. Those ones are a little hard though.
All right.
But I guess like what did you think about the book? Like favorite character, scene, whatever.
Well, I had seen the show when it came out 3 years ago before I read the book, and I read the book last year. And I mean, I liked it. The show is really, really violent in a way that the book isn't. So, I mean, but Neil Gaiman worked on the show, so I guess I don't
It's
know.
I read his opinion on the show because it was part of like the acknowledgments of this book. And I think he liked it, I guess. I haven't seen the show, so I have no idea.
It's fairly gratuitous, I guess, put it like that. But yeah, I like the book. I like Wednesday's character because I mean, like as much as Shadow was likable, because Shadow has no flaws in the book. I mean, like obviously, I mean, he's a flawed character in the way that all characters are flawed, but he doesn't do anything that's particularly, I don't know, frowned upon. But Wednesday has the most depth. I feel like Wednesday is the most well-developed character in the
Oh
book.
yeah, absolutely. He's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a burning hatred for like Technical Boy.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you?
He's just so annoying. Like I was explaining the plot of the book to like my dad or whatever, and I was just like, there's Technical Boy, and he's just a fat kid that shows up and complains.
Yeah, no, that's exactly, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I guess like what themes did you take away? Because I know like me and like Luke, we both did our final essay on American Gods, but we had like completely different takeaways, and it's super dense. So kind of
Yeah.
everything.
I think my takeaways were purely religious because that's like, I don't know, I guess that's been a big part of my development, was sort of my breaking away from Christianity. And so basically my takeaway from it was that a religion is only as powerful as the people who believe in it, which is, I mean, constantly seen throughout history as well. But it really kind of, I don't know. I read it on vacation, so I really wasn't thinking hard about it.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I took it's kind of a similar takeaway from it. Mine was a little bit more sad, I guess, because my main takeaway was like religious, but I also did it along with some research. And with that research, people are doing research on technology as a religion.
Hmm.
So it's like this thing that Neil Gaiman like wrote about is actually sort of happening. And like it's taught in a lot of the research talk about how like there's required practices, like you and like rituals, like you ritually watch like TV, or you ritually like you watch your game, and it's like a whole like event. And like they give it kind of gives the same like these like technology caters to people the same way religion does. Like it gives you the meaning of life, the origin of the universe, helps you in crisis. um there was a third thing or a fourth thing, but I honestly can't remember what it is at this moment.
Indeed. That, yeah, I see what you mean by that, though. And that really is, it's, yeah, basically just a placebo for what humanity has always done. So, yeah, I guess in the age where atheism is sort of taking over and the church is losing power, it's really just replacing one escape with another, one
Yeah,
explanation of purpose. Yeah.
especially there's the one chapter where like Neil I wish I was friends with him and could call him Neil. Well, where Gaiman like he talked, I can't remember which chapter it was, I think it was 7, not gonna lie, but he quoted like this professor of history, and they talked about how like gods exist as like an allegory for human experience, because it's like their stories and everything. So it's like they're so human, but that they've kind of circled back around to being not human, because people can like put the masks on and like see their experiences through the gods, which I think is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
And like I think the point, if you look at the novel through that sort of lens, then like you can kind of see the human experience under the new gods versus the old gods, which I think is pretty, because I'm very anti-technology as of now.
Fair enough.
But because it's like the old gods all like struggling to make like a living, and so they're all like kind of suffering in this like new gods sort of world, and I feel like we all kind of are low-key.
Yeah. I feel like as much as it is a shift from this old god, like, I don't know, this old god, very human perspective, I feel like it's also a necessary evolution of human philosophy is into the realm of technology. So, I mean, we can't say if it's good or bad until it happens and we're all dead. But as it is, I'm not sure if we really could say anything about it unless humanity went through this development. And so I feel like in a way it's a good thing just for the sake of understanding.
Yeah. I don't that's a good perspective. I can't even argue that, because like
that's my position on Fahrenheit 451 as well. It's just, yeah.
It's like we needed this evolution to like grow up as a species, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a strong perspective. It has a lot of ground to stand on.
Yeah, but not a lot of facts. So yeah, it's a lot of conjecture.
I think it fits really well though with like it one thing that's kind of alarming about it that I think was touched on in the book is when there's like the fight scene, or like when they're all arriving at the hill, the way like the old gods are described, the new gods are described, and all the new gods are described as like, fuck, my brain doesn't work. The new gods are described like they're all like shimmery and like fake looking, which I think is really, really interesting, because it's like entering into like where human experience is more like falsified.
Yeah, where like the old gods, are much more raw.
Yeah,
I guess a much more unfiltered experience than the new gods are.
Yeah, they're all, and there's a lot more diversity. Like, I don't know, when I picture the old gods, they all kind of just look like media, but in different shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
This is the question that Miss Pruitt gave me, which I made because shout out to her. She's the reason that I read this book. I think it's just interesting just looking at it as a modern or really postmodern allegory. What's the lesson here? And it's like, and Gaiman is not pointedly biased, so it's all rather ambiguous.
So it's, modern or postmodern allegory. I mean, just thinking of that as from like the basic definitions of modern and postmodernism. I don't know. I really just think of postmodernism as sort of just like absurdist, sort of rule bending and breaking, which in a way it is.
It is
because
like, gods are walking around being
it's a clash of a bunch of different beliefs into, basically in the way that beliefs conflict in the regular world is sort of, it's an allegory for that. So I guess in that sense it is very.
Yeah, and then looking at that, because like the old gods, they're all like from different cultures and different, like they all have different shit, and it's all like so diverse, but they all like exist together, and they're all like, it's really just like more religiously tolerant than I feel like the new gods, because I feel like they're kind of mean to each other. They also don't really have any sense of like community together. They're all just kind of like, you old gods are stupid. Your history. And we're cool. Where the old gods are like, we need to band together in order to like be able to exist in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose that's like sort of the idea. I don't know. I just remember the buffalo in Shadow's dream towards the beginning. The buffalo says, "America is no place for gods." And I guess it's a different concept altogether. But I suppose what you were just saying about the old gods having to band together, and then the whole battle as a tribute to Odin is sort of, I guess, an idea of how, as much as the world has changed and these new gods have sort of taken over, what the old gods were built on is still very much present in, I guess, the human psyche.
Yeah. Honestly, the whole like part of it being like a grift with Odin and Loki. um I really did know how to fit that into the way that I was like seeing the theme, because it seemed pretty cut and dry. I was like, yeah, old gods, yeah, maybe there was a lot of human sacrifice. That's not great, but they stand for some better shit than the new gods do. The new gods are assholes. They need to
Yeah.
get attacked. And then when it was like they were playing both sides and it was all orchestrated just for these two people to gain more power, then I was just like, I don't
Yeah.
know how to fit this in.
Yeah, and I guess it goes both ways, where it's just like their values basically hold true, but also their flaws, I guess. I mean, yeah, all gods are self-serving in the way that all humans are self-serving. But
And then I guess going back to like the allegory thing, like because postmodernism is all, I unless I'm wrong, postmodernism is about like the horrid things that humans have to like go through.
yeah, I mean, postmodernism sort of arose as just a retort to modernism, which was just like specifically it's rule based. It's very cubic, I guess. It's just there's straight lines, and you have to kind of follow the lines. And postmodernism is specifically drawing outside the lines, which I think, yeah, as a postmodern allegory, it was sort of that was the tie into Gravity's Rainbow, which Shadow kept talking about how he had read that, and that's by Thomas Pinchot, and he was basically the front man of postmodernism. His stuff is really, really hard to read.
Cute. Super cute.
Yeah,
I feel like that then maybe the grift that makes more sense fitting in with that, because it's like it was all really straightforward, like old gods are threatened by the new gods, so they are going to attack them, like because A and B we get C. But then when you the fact that it was like, oh, it was a con the whole time makes a lot more sense, like with it being postmodern.
yeah. And also, yeah, I mean, just the structure of the story, the way it goes back in time to give sort of exposition to these gods in America and their growth back in time, just randomly throughout the book, is sort of structurally, it's very postmodern. And I guess, yeah, like you said, as an allegory, it is very.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Wait, there was something in my brain, but now it's gone.
Uh,
Frick. Okay. I really enjoyed the Coming to America stories. I read like, because I got the 10th anniversary version, so it had like a bunch of things that Gaiman wrote, like talking about the book. And his like process for writing is like if he would get stuck and wasn't really sure what Shadow was up to, he would just like write a Coming to America story, and then he would know what Shadow was up to. And I just think like writing a book like that is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it really that idea kind of harps on just like the cyclical concept of humanity. We're
Yeah.
basically just doing the same thing over and over again with a different backdrop.
Oh, absolutely, we are. Like the exact same thing. My favorite Coming to America story was the one right in the beginning with that one goddess. I can't remember her name, but she's the one that like she had sex with the guy and then like absorbed him.
Bilquis?
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved that scene, but now like looking back at it after having finished the book, I'm like, what does this mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, maybe Gaiman was just like, look what these gods be doing.
Yeah, yeah, sex has always been basically, yeah, a goddess. And so it makes sense that Bilquis would be an old god, but then also, I wonder if there's any sort of,
Like a porn god?
yeah, that. And also, I wonder if there's any sort of just like, if, what's the word? I don't know if Bilquis dying first in the battle represents anything.
Oh, maybe because like there's like the decline of sex.
Yeah.
And, like in one part, Sam talk in one of Sam's like very long like I believe she was like I
Mm-hmm.
believe the decline of sex is because of the decline of drive-in movie theaters, which is very intelligent. That is a
Yeah.
good. That is genius on her
That
part.
is.
But maybe like her dying first was talking about like how in these like this new god time like sex is on the decline.
Mm-hmm. And there's, yeah, the whole will you worship me with your body, and that is no, I mean, monogamy, I guess it's more than the death of sex, it's the death of monogamy.
Yeah, I mean monogamy should die anyways, so who cares?
Yeah, fair enough.
But I don't know, to each their own. I do think that like it is definitely another piece in the fact that like the human experience under old gods is more fueled by like human connection.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like because it's suddenly I can't think of any other example, but like all of their origin stories were like people banding together, and then they're like the ways that they were worshipped had to do with like because in all the Coming to America stories, it was like these tribes, these groups of people using the gods to like get through, and then whereas now it's more like individualistic with technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, and I suppose that kind of goes back just to the whole how the old gods or Odin specifically was powered by, I guess, sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so I feel like to a degree all of the old gods were fueled by some form of sacrifice. And then the idea, yeah, like I said before, basically humanity is still very much willing to sacrifice for these
Yeah.
beliefs.
I feel like the sacrifices, it's different. I can't say it's more so now. It's just different. Like the media, is media and the TV god the same person? I can't remember.
I think so, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when media like was like first appeared to Shadow, and she was like they sacrificed their time, they sacrificed their family. So it's like instead of like having like one like I get not always one person like when they had like they hang all the animals and one of the animals was always a man that the goat man was talking about. So it's like instead of sacrificing like a person, they're sacrificing like I feel like they're sacrificing things that make them human.
Yeah.
So it's like a different sort of sacrifice of like your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a greater sacrifice of commitment. Yeah.
It's just I don't know. I think because both sides are not great.
Yeah.
Like all the options are bad.
Yeah.
It's like you can either like sacrifice your time, your energy, like your relationships, or a literal person could die.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah. And that really, yeah. And that is even still a thing. Like, I forget what exactly. I know that there's like a brief thing about Christianity in the book, but I think like Jesus is just mentioned at some point.
I know in this one at the end, Gaiman talks about how he wrote a couple times about Shadow meeting Jesus, but it just never seemed to fit in the book quite right. So he like put it at the end. We're just like they just basically had like a conversation. And he kind of talks about becoming a god and like so it's like it means you give up your mortal existence to become a meme, something that lives forever in people's minds, like the tune of a nursery rhyme. It means that everyone gets to recreate you in their own minds. And I'm like, I'm like, this just has it's so much to unpack for one.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I also think it's funny that it was like, if you become a god, you become a meme.
Yeah, right.
And then And then Jesus was saying how he welcomes new gods, the god of guns, the god of bombs, the gods of ignorance and intolerance, of self-righteousness, idiocy, and blame. But he says it because he's like, it takes weight off of my shoulders. So I don't know. I think it gives an interesting perspective, I guess, onto like the burden of being a god.
Yeah.
But I also
it's just, yeah.
I don't know.
Jesus strikes me as just kind of a new god. Like in a way, but basically like Jesus is almost like he's the last martyr of the old gods, I guess.
He's like I feel like not that Jesus is a neoliberal. He's obviously a socialist, if any of you have actually read the Bible, but I feel like he's like the neoliberal of gods, of like old gods.
Yeah.
Because I feel like generally Christianity preaches the same kind of stuff as like all the old religions, like community, love, tolerance, but now like Christianity has been kind of twisted. So I feel like it's even like there's like a new Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like that, like the old Jesus didn't care if you aborted a baby.
Yeah.
Like, people didn't really do that, and it was just a different world. But now like people are assigning like ideas to him.
Yeah. It seems like, yeah, basically America is really just it is such a, I mean, for a book called American Gods to be written by a British author, America really is no place for gods. It's just you really do get this conflict of these old gods which have only been brought over and they've kind of been bastardized by just generations and not properly, I mean, values just being lost. And then these new gods that are just being introduced as time passes and technology and new morals and beliefs kind of arise. And it really is like kind of harped upon at the end where he runs into Odin in Iceland.
Yeah.
Where it really, he's so benevolent and kind of careless compared to Mr. Wednesday that it really just makes a point that, I mean, yeah, America is just a child of a country.
Oh, absolutely. I
think and
like our origins were in consumerism and like capitalism, because we weren't like obviously there were indigenous people here and they were doing their own thing, but before like America, like it was born as like people wanting to find economic gain. So we were doomed from the start as far as religions go, because like all the other religions like kind of condemned wealth and seeking wealth and said that like it kept you away from spirit. So like coming in, it isn't a place for gods. And
yeah, well, yeah, America is a self-serving place, and so the gods of America are self-serving, but then you find that Odin of Iceland is not not self-serving at all. I mean, he's very, doesn't he give, oh wait, no, Shadow gives Odin his eye. Yeah.
And I think that also kind of what Luke's analysis of the book was about like the American dream, and how like the old gods represent the American dream. Like they were brought over and they like have started to die out, where the new gods represent like the decline of the American dream.
Okay.
Which like his presentation was really good. And went into way more detail than I'm able to do. But it was like, and how apparently like people that don't believe in the American dream are more likely to like commit crimes and like have mental illness, which I think is really, really interesting.
Yeah, that is very, like, I can definitely feel that as I've completely lost all hope in the American dream. Yeah, but it really, yeah, that's
what kind of questions Gaiman has for us.
All right. I suppose just to continue with the American dream idea, is that what you're proposing is very, I mean, what you said about the whole people who don't believe in the American dream have higher chances of mental illness, is very nihilist. Just in that sense, like the American dream as a god, its own sense of purpose. And so as soon as you don't feel like the American dream is a thing, you basically you lose your purpose. You're not worshiping anything anymore. And so that is
thought about it like that.
Yeah, and so once you, because that's basically what I've been struggling with. It's just like this whole like, oh, I don't want to be an engineer, and then it's just like, I guess I'll do nothing for the rest of my life. Yeah, it's just really, so it basically, yeah, that is a very, I don't know, a very like, life has no purpose without gods.
Yeah.
And without this dream. Yeah. So.
And then I guess it's like, then you have like the old gods like committing crimes in order to try and achieve it, even though they're striving for something that really never existed.
Yeah.
And this question kind of goes along with that. It's saying like Shadow starts as a convict, and like he ends like as a completely different man, and how does America like work as a place where people can reinvent themselves, and like including like immigrants, exiles, and stuff like that, like our origins, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess that's really just an idea of values, because it's not like by the end of it, he's not an ex-convict. Really, all that's changed is just where he places value.
Plus, honestly, I feel like Shadow, yeah, he's a convict, but Laura is the one that put him up to all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just wanted to make his wife happy, and like it ended up really bad for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate Laura. She's the worst.
Yeah, no, she really is.
She's like, yeah, I died because I was sucking the pee-pee of your best friend, and I literally killed us.
Yeah, she's kind of lonely, you know. It's not like it's my fault or anything.
Like my bad. I was gonna tell him it was over after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, I'm just gonna follow you around now. Like, ma'am, you're dead.
Mm-hmm. But I wonder if that really is like, it's almost like an exposure to the American dream that makes Shadow change, kind of like where Shadow started off as essentially an old god. And then after his exposure to what the old gods are and what they essentially always end up with, which is just kind of being universally hated and kind of
and
shitty.
To like con people in order to actually like get what you need.
Yeah, that's when kind of he changes his tune and is just willing to kind of, be the benevolent Iceland Odin. Yeah,
and just like I really enjoy what he ended up doing is he just started traveling all over like the world. And I think that's really cool, because he was like, all of this sucks.
Yeah.
He was like, miss me with that American BS. I'm out. Goodbye.
Yeah, basically.
And like, as
that's what we all want to do.
On God. On American gods.
Yeah.
And I think it pays testament. I feel like, because there's like the world of the if we're going back to the human experience thing, there's like the human experience of the old gods, and it's like, and the human experience of the new gods. And I feel like Shadow was like, okay, both of these suck. Neither of these are good. And so he was like, let's travel the world, let's experience stuff. And so it was like learning about other people and learning about the world was like the human experience he was after. And I think that's honestly what we're all kind of after.
Yeah, I mean, physical existence is really all that belief should be based on. Because as we've seen in real life and literature, that faith always kind of ruins everything. I mean, like this idea of like, of faith in something that you don't know exists, and pride towards something that you can't exactly prove is sort of, the root of all evil. I think
I would argue though, because I spent some time like being Christian or whatever, and it never really sat right with me. It wasn't the vibe. But now that I've gotten into like pagan and like Wiccan stuff, I've actually been able to kind of like connect to a religion of sorts. And it's not obviously not the same where it's like there's this one all powerful God. You like sort of are able to shape your own belief system. And I think it's not really the believing in something else that's like that might not exist that's the problem. I feel like it's more people in power like perverting what these belief systems have and like using that power.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because I mean, obviously, religion has sociological impact, and so that's why, yeah, the Catholic Church is able to gain so much power basically all throughout history, and then, yeah, after the recession, basically Christianity gained power, or not the recession, but the Depression. Christianity gained power in the Americas, or especially the middle class, because it was basically used as like the Republican bargaining chip.
And then there's like the Red Scare, and everyone was like, "Atheism bad. Atheism means communism." And then
yeah, pretty much
even more of a push.
Yeah, but it really is like, yeah, everything is good in measure because basically, yeah, without, I guess, sampling something, you can't truly understand it. But everything can be extrapolated to a negative degree.
Oh yeah, and
yeah,
especially oh god, it's gone now. And then because like we see like people are always going to end up worshiping something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's probably better for people to worship like a god of sorts, or like an energy, or just something that's a little bit more abstract than like technology.
Yeah.
Then because if it's your technology, then you're at the direct like there is a person deciding for you what you're gonna tie your beliefs to and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we all need some sort of like, yeah, moral guidance, because basically, I don't know, I disagree strongly with the idea that if the Bible didn't exist, there would be no morals.
Yeah,
because
that,
I think
that makes no sense to me.
Morality is human, because it's like you're not born not understanding basically the value of life. You kind of have to get to a point where you either value life or you don't value life. And so, yeah, but you need something to base your idea of self around, but the more physical that is, whether it's like a phone or a Bible, the more it can kind of be misconstrued. And I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like spirituality is super important because it also, I don't know, at least for like my spiritual journey or whatever, I really just learned that like all these things have way more value than I previously like really believed that they had. And one of the main like Wiccan ideal things is like, if it harms none, do as you will. So I just kind of use that as my general like moral compass. Like if it doesn't hurt anyone, then why should I not do it? Like, what's stopping me?
I mean, my favorite book that I've read in a long time was The Stranger, because it really is just, I mean, it's just 120 pages of like extreme French nihilism from the early 20th century. And it really is. It's like, basically the structure of it is just like, this guy lives a beautiful life. He lives on the coast of Algiers, and basically he just sits on his porch and people watches and smokes all day, every day. And he's got a hot girlfriend. And then when it comes down to it, he's just like, life doesn't matter. We're just on a rock in space. Nothing means anything. I'll die and nothing will change. So yeah, it's like, I don't want to be nihilist because I want to matter. I want to feel special. But at the end of the day, I find that I can't find a degree of stability in anything else. And so, like, obviously you get to the point where it's just like, oh, well, the Earth came from a collapsing of dust in space, and then billions of years before that, something else happened. But who started that? Of course, I can't say that there's no external force in the world that guides everything, because to deny that would be, I mean, there's no proof for it, there's no proof against it, and so we can't say it's fact. But really, beyond that point, I can't find any amount of structure in any sort of morality, because it's really, everybody before me was just as human as I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
One thing that kind of helps me with the nihilism, because I used to be very, very nihilistic for like a really long time. Really what kind of got me out of it the most was being like, well, we're just animals. I am no different than that cat over there or that like elephant. We're all just like on this earth trying to survive. So like who cares? Like I'm just here to eat snacks and hang out. That's all any of us are here to do.
Fair enough.
But that being said, like all of that is true, but then also in this like in this whatever life society that I've been plopped into for whatever reason, I might as well try and like do stuff, even if like all I'm doing is like opening one person's brain to like, I don't know, anything.
Oh yeah, no, it's yeah, and like I seek to learn and be educated and kind of understand the world more, but I still feel like when I die, it won't mean anything, and I take no issue with that. I've come to terms with it.
I mean,
It's beautiful in its own way.
Yeah. I don't know why, but that's like that reminds me of like the tree in American Gods when Shadow's like strung up there for the 9 days and 9 nights.
Yeah.
Like like him realize like the way that that was what made him realize he was like alive is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, just the ability once you die is
And him being like, wow, I'm alive. If I die, it's chill. I hope we can all reach that point in life.
Yeah, that's where I want to be. Where when I die, I can just ask for nothing and be content with that.
Yeah. That tree scene was very that whole like part of the book was probably one of my favorite parts. I loved all his like interactions and everything, especially when he like became the tree.
Yeah.
Because like that's one of my like beliefs parts of my belief system is like sort of like, have you heard the egg theory?
No.
Where it's like the universe is an egg and work for like a god being and they live every single life every like and you just keep respawning over and over again until you've experienced the entire universe. So it's sort of based off of that, but it's more like each thing, like everything is just the universe experiencing itself through a different perspective. Because like it also goes in with like Einstein's equals mc squared. It's like energy is mass, so it's all just the universe's energy. So like with that, it's like I am no different than this mic right here. I'm no different than that tree.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're all just the universe experiencing itself. So to see, because I've never really seen anything like that written, and it was really cool to like see that happen to Shadow, and Shadow was able to like pull the water up from like the roots because he was the tree. Like that was so cool.
Yeah, agreed. And Wednesday says at the beginning of the book, America, what does he say? Like America is the hardest. Basically what it boils down to is America doesn't know what it is. And that's really like, I feel like America is just the modern human. And so basically it doesn't know what it is. And humanity really is just, I feel like we are just overblown chimps who evolved to the point to question who they are and what they're supposed to do. Yeah. And that's all that sets us apart from.
But the thing is, we don't even know, like other animals could be doing that too.
It's
so true. I'm like, this human supremacy, this is all bullshit. Like, like we're all sad, so maybe this thing that we've been doing isn't good.
We just know how to destroy stuff.
Yeah, and like turn stuff into like for our gain, but then none of us even are like, I guess some of us, there's probably like 4 people. There's at least 4 that are like, I am content with this. I am happy with my little computer and my iPhone. And
I mean, Jeff Bezos doesn't seem to be doing anything with all of his money, so I imagine he's at least somewhat content.
Novels say about what people will accept in order to maintain a sense of normalcy.
Good question.
I feel like it's kind of hard because we don't meet that many people
Hmm.
in the book.
I mean, you've got like Hinzelman.
He's a god though.
Yeah, but I mean, like, kind of. I mean, everybody else in
Oh,
that town.
yeah. They're all just like, yeah, a kid just disappears.
Uh-huh.
It's fine.
Yeah. And they're like Santa deniers on Christmas. It's just like these presents are appearing, but I still don't think Santa's a real thing. Oh, really? I mean, they're just like willing to accept a child disappearing once a year and be just like, oh, but this is a lovely little town.
Yeah. I feel like
Mhm.
though the thing is I I can't even be mad at them because it's not like they know why the kids disappeared. Because it
Oh,
seems
yeah.
like the general like vibes of the town is people are like these kids they get depressed in the winter and they disappear.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's I when I was reading it in that part, I was like, that's very reasonable. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, that
Like,
happens
yeah.
everywhere. Yeah, it's nothing new.
Like, yeah,
I
kids
just
get
kind of,
depressed in the
yeah.
winter.
Hmm. I got the idea that that town only had like maybe 10 people living in it. So a girl disappearing was really like a big deal. You know,
I
it's
guess
like,
that's true, yeah. There is like
yeah,
no
I mean,
there.
yeah, it's just like if
One
Aubrey had come and
policeman.
she was visiting her cousin who was somebody else and not one of the main characters, then I've been just like, okay, so there are more people in this town, but it really just seems like there are maybe like a dozen people.
There's definitely not a lot.
Yeah.
Because they were all just like, this guy's here now.
Hmm. Yeah, like this is a big deal.
So I'm just like, I guess, yeah, people would just were willing to accept that like a child would literally die.
Hmm.
And Hinzelman,
Hmm.
that his like origin story was super interesting to me. Because do you remember reading The Ones Who Walked Away from Omelas?
I never read that.
It's this utopian town, and everyone's happy, and like every single day there's just fireworks and festivals, and everything is good, everything's perfect, except there's this little like hut closet thing where this one child stays in there, and they can't speak because no one's ever spoken to them. They get their slop on the floor, they poop and they pee in there, they're naked, they're cold, and they basically hold all of the suffering for the entire
Okay.
town. And so the story, the main debate we had was like, so do you stay in the town, or do you free the child and send it in, ruin their utopia, or do you walk away?
Hmm.
um but it reminded me of Hinzelman's like origin, because he was like that sort of child. Like
Yeah.
you take a little child that like put it in, it's the exact same thing, and then you carry that dead child as like your good luck charm, and
Yeah.
like keeps everyone happy.
Yeah. Huh, I see what you mean.
And so I guess that also goes into like what people are willing to accept for normalcy.
Yeah.
So it's just like it really just is like you have your one suffering child, and everyone else gets to be in this utopia.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really just that is the concept of a martyr.
Yeah, it's a hard question.
Uh-huh.
It's like you don't want this child to be suffering, but at the expense of like everyone else's happiness.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mess.
I mean, that is the state of the world. So,
Yeah.
except on a much larger and more lopsided scale.
Yep. It's like,
Yeah.
don't worry, guys. We have a utopia for like 4 people,
Uh-huh.
and like millions of kids die every year. Sound good? Everyone cool with this?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Super cute of humanity.
Yeah.
I guess
But yeah.
yeah. I guess I'm trying to think of like, I guess Laura was trying to just ignore the fact that she was dead, and was like, kiss me, Shadow. Like, no, girl, you're dead.
Yeah.
You can't pretend that you're not for a sense of normalcy. I'm sorry.
He doesn't want to kiss. He doesn't want to kiss a dick by association.
No, of course not.
That's the
No
thing.
pee-pee
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
It's like pee-pee mouth, and also she might vomit maggots into your mouth.
Yeah. So
double trouble right there.
Mm-hmm. The sake of religion. Yeah.
And that carries in with all the like sacrifice and
Mm-hmm.
at least those people, I feel like those people have a choice. Like in the past with the old gods, they had a choice to be sacrificed. At least I like to think they did.
Yeah.
And then like under the new gods, I feel like people don't really have a choice in the sacrifice. Like they do, like you could just like not watch TV, but it's like I stopped watching TV. It is so hard. It is so hard.
Yeah.
Because like people keep like recommending movies to me and TV shows, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like
I'm sorry to be a part of that list.
Like sorry to you're totally good. You gave me book recommendations too, so you're
it balances out.
Yeah, it balances out, and I'll actually read the book, so it's okay. But and like I'm like bitches are addicted to watching TV. Like I stopped a couple weeks ago, and like every day I'm like, I just want to watch TV. I just want to sit and turn my brain off and watch TV. But I'm just like, no.
I mean, like, especially now that it's just like, I mean, it is a piece of shit outside right now. It's like cold and it's raining. So it's, and like, what are you going to do except for like,
what are you going to do? Sit and watch TV?
Yeah, no, it's like I tried to read 1984 and then I had like a D in physics. And so I stopped reading it. And then I finished it like the last 200 pages in 3 days. And now it's just like, I keep sitting down and opening up the first page of To Kill a Mockingbird and then putting it down and walking away because it's just like, I can't.
To Kill a Mockingbird is boring. It's just.
Yeah, no. Like, it's like, I want to read it, but like, I've also picked up Animal Farm and it's just, that one is equally just like,
you got to read Four Arguments for the Elimination of Television.
All right.
Because it very heavily informed my analysis of American Gods, because it's all about how like TV like is hypnotic and like it's all that like ad space is controlled by, and like all the like, because it's all to like have a TV ad, it's like $1 million, so only like these corporations can afford that like shit. So our reality is completely controlled by like these people, because like ads like create your reality, especially because the book dives into like how much images inform like who we become and who we are, and like even completely subconsciously. So like with all that in mind, if you're like reading this, I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I should read that.
It's very, very interesting. It kind of kickstarted my my book reading like binging, I guess, because I haven't been much of a reader since I was like a child.
They're not.
I think I spent all of my time thinking about like this type of stuff. But it's like, if you think about how you would set a society up, none of this makes sense. Because it's like Marx was like, to each his need, from each his ability, and I'm like, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
that seems like the only way that you would set stuff up.
I still think it is just an overblown idea of individualism, and then also it's just like, it's so easy in the current world for somebody to gain power, but for somebody who's in power to basically just
keep it and like
to keep it and grow it at the expense of everybody else. And that's just it's a self-perpetuating idea. Anyway,
I wonder, like I can't think of any exact like examples from American Gods, but like individualism like in American Gods.
Well, I can't really think of anything.
I just know I personally think individualism and like individuality is a myth. Because like you can't be who you are without your relationships. Like you like the kid that you, or like Hinzelman, there we go, it's tied in now. Like Hinzelman and his like origin story, like where they just didn't have any contact with anyone and were like became like a martyr. Like they didn't have any of the relationships, so they weren't really a person anymore. They were just like a talisman, I guess, like a good luck charm.
Yeah. I think it's the same way that a computer isn't like everything you see on a computer is just a certain series of yes or no answers to questions. And I think that, I mean, like, that's what humans are. It's just everything we are is just a series of yes or no questions developed by our particular experiences. And so the individualism in that sense is a very real thing, because it's just like, obviously we're the only ones who have our specific string of yes or no questions and answers. But at the same time, we are only built up of yes or no. It's not like we're, I don't know.
I don't know. I think I understand where you're coming from, but I would argue that there's a little bit more complexity than like binary. It's like humans are less binary than a computer is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, humans can process gray area.
I think
but even still, I think we can only process gray area with answers to yes or no questions. I think the brain itself is not binary, because it's just, I mean, you know, it's a gem of evolution. But
like identities, I feel like, because I don't know, back when I was cringy, I would just be like, I'm a bundle of contradictions. But like, I don't know, I feel like that still holds true, and that's like exists for everyone. Like there are so many conflating things that exist inside of every single person.
Yeah. And I wonder if a human was kept in a box, basically without any sort of outside input, would they ever question their purpose?
I don't know. That's so, wait. I feel like probably not, because for arguments for the elimination of television, he talks a lot of gerrymander. He talks a lot about sensory deprivation tanks, because like essentially the world we live in is a sensory deprivation tank, but that's not the topic of this, so I'm not going to get into that right now. But so it talks about like, and Solaris is like a Soviet writing that was about like this spaceship, and it basically just served as a sensory deprivation tank, and people weren't like, they couldn't tell if what they were experiencing, like the images they saw, were real or was their brain like imagining it.
Yeah.
So I guess it would depend on when you put the human in the box.
I mean, it's just like
to go off of, or
I mean, it really is just like it. I mean, because without, I don't know. Yeah, it really is just a question of basically how much, in what way would the brain develop without, I don't know. I guess the modern world has a very certain type of stimuli for developing children. And so without that stimulus, how would a person develop?
Especially because we're like born, like most people are like born and it's just like fluorescent light. Like I wonder how that affects like babies versus like when people were born like outside. Like that's like all the stimulus is just so different from what we used to experience.
Yeah.
I wonder if what stimulus did people experience? Be like, we need to hang this man from a tree so that this god will keep us safe.
Yeah, basically. It's just like, and Inside Out. I love that movie. I just watched it recently.
Oh, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it brought me to tears. I don't understand how I was able to watch like Up and Inside Out without crying in the past, but I don't know, I was a different child back then.
So long.
I know, but basically it's just like, you know, that they didn't just like walk up and write all of these like concepts where it's just like, oh yeah, here's long-term memory and the train of thought, which are obviously like plays on words. But like how much of that in the idea of core memories is realistic, and tying back into the idea of stimulus, basically, what would a person be without that idea of core memories?
I feel like we probably wouldn't be anything. because it's
Yeah,
like,
or like would we develop our own, like with this whole like, because we're left with nothing to do but dream. And although we have no idea, I'm sure we would still be able to kind of develop concept.
because like blind people, like people that are born blind, they still like
Mhm.
see stuff in their brains.
Yeah.
So I feel like you could assume that someone would have like, they would create their own reality.
Hmm.
I think the this brings to mind like when in World we learned about like this one king guy from, or not king, like it was like during the like up to the beginning of like the scientific age, but this guy, he took like two kids like right when they were born, and he put them together in like this like house by themselves to see if they would like develop the language of Eden, like the natural language that people spoke.
Hmm.
And they developed a language,
Huh.
but nobody could understand them, so they had no idea like what even the
Uh,
point was.
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, where it's just like you put this human in a box, but then you don't know. It's not like they can communicate.
Yeah. And like also that was different because it was like two kids, so they were able to like form a relationship, and that probably also helped them like not go
Hmm.
completely insane.
Yeah.
Now that is all the discussion that we have for today. Thank you so much to Spencer for being part of the first episode of the Commune, and thank you so much for the discussion. I am a huge believer in mutual aid, and since creating this podcast, it's given me a little bit of a platform. So in every episode, I want to share either a person that is looking for mutual aid or a mutual aid organization. And for this episode, I'm sharing the mutual aid for a Black queer femme in South Florida. Their name is Mars. The mutual aid will cover their living expenses and rent for the next couple of months while they're working on getting a job. Their